Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're looking at Chainlink.
Sounds good.
You know, our wonderful listeners sent us a whole bunch of articles about LINK, and we're talking about price movements,
Okay.
future potential, and this whole idea is connecting it to real-world assets. So
Right.
I guess,
Yeah.
where do we even begin with all of this?
Well, I think it's kind of hard to ignore the fact that Chainlink, like most of the crypto world right now, has seen a little bit of a dip lately.
Yeah.
One of the articles mentioned it's down like 8.4% in the last 24 hours, sitting at $15.45.
Yeah. I feel like when you look back at the charts and you see those December highs,
Right.
it makes it feel a little more dramatic, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
But it does seem like, from what I'm reading here, this is not unique to Chainlink.
No.
It looks like a lot of cryptos are in the same boat.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But that's where things get kind of interesting. One analyst, Ali Martinez, points out a double bottom pattern that's forming in the charts. And this is essentially a signal that the downtrend might be reversing soon.
Okay, so a potential turnaround.
Yeah,
How reliable are these patterns, though?
that's a great question.
Especially in the crypto world, it's so up and down.
Yeah, absolutely. Technical analysis can be helpful, but it's not a crystal ball, right?
Yeah.
Martinez does set a price target of $21 if this pattern plays out.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to remember that no prediction is guaranteed.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So we've got this analyst talking about patterns. Then we've got another analyst, Michael van de Poppe. And he's looking back in time a little bit.
Right.
He's comparing the current market to what happened back in 2018.
Yeah.
What's so significant about that comparison?
Well, back in 2018, Chainlink saw a massive surge against Ethereum. Like, we're talking 20x growth.
Wow.
So I think people are looking at that historical data and they're getting pretty excited about what could potentially happen.
Yeah, I can see why that would get people's attention for sure. Let's zoom out from the charts a little bit, though, and look at the bigger picture.
Okay.
One of the articles quotes Chainlink's founder, Sergey Nazarov, talking about a $350 trillion opportunity.
Right.
Trillion with a T.
That's right.
So
Yeah,
he's obviously a big thinker.
absolutely.
His vision goes way beyond the price of Chainlink.
Right.
He's talking about revolutionizing how we manage all kinds of assets like stocks, bonds, real estate, even intellectual property. He seemed to believe that blockchain can change everything.
He does.
And he sees Chainlink as a key player in making that happen.
That's right.
It's a pretty bold vision.
It is.
But are there any real-world signs that this vision is actually starting to take shape?
Yeah, I mean, there are. Actually, Chainlink is working on a pilot program with SWIFT,
Wow.
the global financial messaging system.
Okay.
And they've actually got some dates set
Okay.
for testing and launching different phases of it, aiming for a release in November.
SWIFT, that's not
Yeah.
some small-time operation.
No, not at all.
What does their involvement tell us about Chainlink's potential for mainstream adoption?
I think it's a major step if Chainlink can integrate with the systems that move literally trillions of dollars every day.
Right.
It shows that this technology has real-world applications beyond just the crypto space.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah.
So we've got SWIFT on board. Then another article mentions that the U.S. government holds a bunch of Link tokens.
Yeah.
Over $1.7 million worth.
Interesting.
I'm curious to get your take. What do you make of that?
It's definitely interesting. I wouldn't say it's proof that governments are fully on board with Chainlink's vision or anything like that.
Right.
But it does suggest that they're paying attention to the potential of this technology.
They're not ignoring it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so we've got some pretty interesting signs for the future of Chainlink. But let's go back to the charts for a second.
Okay.
One article highlights a megaphone pattern forming in Chainlink's weekly chart. Can you break that down for us a little bit?
Sure. So the megaphone pattern basically means that the price swings are getting bigger,
Okay.
higher highs and lower lows. But in this case, it's being interpreted as a bullish continuation sign,
Okay.
which means we could see a pretty significant price rebound.
How significant are we talking here?
Well, the article mentions a potential target of $31, which would be more than double its current price.
Wow.
But it's also important to note the flip side of this.
Okay.
If the pattern breaks down, we could see a drop to around $5.
So big potential upside, but some risk involved as well.
Yeah,
That seems to be a theme with Chainlink right now.
I would agree with that.
A lot of ambition, a lot of potential,
Yeah,
but still relatively early in its journey.
absolutely.
And for those who believe in that journey and who are interested in potentially profiting from it, there's always the option of passive income through staking.
That's right.
Staking is becoming increasingly popular in the crypto world.
Yeah, it is.
It essentially allows you to earn rewards just for holding your coins and for helping to secure the network.
Exactly.
So it's a way to potentially grow your investment while supporting the project at the same time. And it's not just Chainlink that offers staking.
Right.
One of these articles even mentioned Doge Uprising.
Interesting.
This meme coin as a potential competitor in the staking space.
Yeah.
Doge Uprising.
Yeah.
Seems like everyone's trying to get in on the game these days.
They are. Staking is becoming a major force in the crypto world, and it'll be really interesting to see how Chainlink's approach compares to these newer, often meme-driven projects.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on.
For sure.
But before we get too distracted by shiny new tokens, let's dive a little deeper into what makes Chainlink unique and why so many people are excited about its potential.
Sounds good to me.
We'll pick up there in part 2.
Looking forward to it.
All right, so we're back and ready to dig a little deeper into the technology that powers Chainlink.
Okay.
One thing that really stood out to me in these articles is this idea of Chainlink acting as like a bridge between the blockchain and the real world.
Right.
I get the concept, but how does that actually work in practice?
So that's where things get really fascinating. You see smart contracts, those self-executing agreements on the blockchain.
Right.
They're incredibly powerful tools, but they're limited by what information they have access to. They need a reliable way to get data from the outside world, whether it's stock prices, shipping information, even weather data.
So Chainlink is providing that connection.
Exactly.
It's like giving those smart contracts a window to the real world.
Precisely. Chainlink acts as a secure middleman.
Okay.
Bringing real-world data onto the blockchain in a way that's verifiable and tamper-proof. Think of it like an API for real-world information.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this could be a game changer.
Yeah.
What are some concrete examples of how this could be used?
Sure. So let's take the financial industry, for example. Imagine a financial contract that automatically executes when certain market conditions are met based on real-time data feeds provided by Chainlink. Or think about supply chains, where every step of the process is tracked and verified on the blockchain, reducing fraud and increasing transparency.
Wow, so we're talking about a whole new level of automation and trust here.
Right.
Cutting out the need for intermediaries.
Yeah.
Making everything more efficient and secure.
Exactly.
These articles also mention something called decentralized oracle networks, or DONs.
Yes.
How do they fit into all of this?
So DONs are at the heart of how Chainlink operates. Instead of relying on a single source of information, which could be vulnerable to manipulation or errors, Chainlink uses a network of independent node operators.
So kind of like a decentralized jury system, where each member contributes to their piece of information to reach a verdict.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
Each node operator in a DON fetches data from a different source and feeds it back to the blockchain.
Got it.
This decentralized approach ensures the reliability and accuracy of the data. And to encourage these node operators to act honestly, they're rewarded with Chainlink tokens for providing accurate information.
It's fascinating how those economic incentives are built right into the system.
Right.
It seems like a pretty clever way to ensure that everyone's working towards the same goal, accurate and trustworthy data.
Exactly. But even with all these safeguards in place, it's important to remember that no technology is foolproof.
Right.
And as you pointed out earlier, the crypto market is inherently volatile.
Yeah.
That megaphone pattern we talked about, it could break down and we could see a significant price correction.
Right. It's important to be realistic about the risks.
Absolutely.
And speaking of competition, we touched on Doge Uprising earlier, that meme coin with its own staking platform.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Is it a legitimate threat to Chainlink?
It's an interesting development for sure.
Yeah.
It shows that even meme coins are starting to offer more utility and value to their holders. Whether Doge Uprising can truly compete with Chainlink in terms of security, reliability, and real-world adoption, that remains to be seen.
So competition is heating up.
It is.
But it also seems like the whole crypto landscape is expanding and evolving at an incredible pace.
Yeah, for sure.
This brings up an important question, I think, for our listener, with so many projects popping up. How can people evaluate these different options and decide where to invest their time and money?
Right. That's where critical thinking becomes crucial.
Yeah.
Don't just blindly follow the hype or take anyone's word for it. Do your research. Look at the team behind the project, the problem they're trying to solve, the partnerships they've formed, and the technology they're building.
It's about cutting through the noise and focusing on the fundamentals.
Absolutely. And always remember, this is a rapidly evolving space. What seems like a sure bet today might be obsolete tomorrow. Continuous learning is key. Read widely followed thought leaders. Engage with the community.
So we've talked about the technology,
Yeah.
the potential risks, the competition. Now let's shift gears and talk about something that really caught my eye in these articles. Real-world asset tokenization. It sounds like a futuristic concept.
It does.
But how far off is it, really?
It's closer than you might think. Chainlink is already working on projects that involve tokenizing real-world assets, like real estate stocks and bonds.
Wow.
Essentially, they're representing these assets digitally on the blockchain.
So you could potentially own a fraction of a building or a piece of art through a token.
Exactly. This opens up a world of possibilities.
Yeah.
It could democratize access to investments that were previously out of reach for many people. Imagine being able to buy a tiny piece of a skyscraper or a famous painting without needing millions of dollars.
It's fascinating to think about how this could change the way we invest and even the way we think about ownership.
Right.
But I imagine there are some challenges involved as well.
Absolutely. Regulation is a big one. Governments are still grappling with how to classify and regulate these digital assets.
And will traditional institutions be willing to embrace this new technology?
That's a valid point. There will undoubtedly be some pushback from those who benefit from the status quo, but the incentives are starting to shift.
How so?
Well, these institutions are seeing the potential of blockchain to reduce costs, increase efficiency, and create new revenue streams. They might be hesitant at first, but as more and more companies adopt blockchain technology, the pressure on them to adapt will only grow.
It sounds like we're on the verge of a major shift in the way our financial system works.
Yeah.
And Chainlink, with its focus on connecting the blockchain to the real world, seems to be right at the center of it all.
It's a truly exciting time to be following this space. We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
From the technical intricacies of DAWNs to the transformative potential of real-world asset tokenization.
It's clear that Chainlink is a complex and ambitious project with the potential to disrupt many industries. But before we wrap up, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what all of this means for our listener. What are the key takeaways they should be considering as they explore the world of Chainlink and blockchain technology in general?
That's a great question, and one we can definitely unpack further in the final part of our deep dive.
Sounds like a plan. Join us for part 3, where we'll explore those key takeaways and discuss what the future might hold for Chainlink and the blockchain space as a whole. All right, so we've made it to the final part of our Chainlink deep dive.
We have.
We've covered a lot of ground from those initial market trends and, the potential of real-world asset tokenization. But now let's shift our focus to you, the listener.
Okay.
What are the key takeaways you should be thinking about after listening to all of this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Chainlink is more than just a cryptocurrency.
Okay.
It's a technology with the potential to really bridge that gap between the blockchain and the real world.
Right.
It opens up a whole world of possibilities for a bunch of different industries.
And it's been fascinating to learn about its role in things like supply chain management and decentralized finance.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we did also talk about some of the potential hurdles like regulatory uncertainty and getting traditional institutions on board.
Right.
How should our listener be thinking about those things?
I think it's important to acknowledge those challenges, but also to recognize that the blockchain space is constantly evolving. What seems like a huge obstacle today might be resolved tomorrow. So the key is to stay informed and adapt to the changing landscape.
So how can our listeners stay ahead of the curve? Any advice for navigating this complex and often confusing world?
Well, I would say the most important thing is to cultivate a healthy skepticism.
Okay.
Don't just blindly follow the hype or, take anyone's word for it. Do your research, read critically, and be wary of anyone promising guaranteed returns.
Yeah, that's great advice. There's definitely a lot of noise in the crypto space. It can be hard to separate the signal from the noise.
Absolutely. It's also crucial to diversify your sources of information. So don't rely on just a single source,
Right.
including us. Follow thought leaders on social media, engage with the community, attend conferences.
And don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Experiment with different platforms.
Yeah.
Try out different wallets.
Oh, sure.
See what works best for you.
Exactly. The best way to learn is by doing. And always remember to manage your risk. Never invest more than you can afford to lose, and be prepared for volatility.
Sound advice. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listener will take away from this conversation?
I hope they walk away with a sense of cautious optimism about the future of blockchain technology.
Okay.
There are definitely challenges ahead, but there's also immense potential for positive change.
Well, we've certainly seen how Chainlink is already making an impact in a lot of different sectors.
Yeah.
And it's pretty exciting to think about what the future holds as this technology continues to develop.
It's a journey worth following, and I would encourage our listeners to be active participants in shaping that future.
Well said. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Chainlink. We hope you found it informative and engaging.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.